Top Gear. I was introduced to it back when I was in the UK, watching reruns on Dave all the time for the whole time we lived there. It was from 2010 to 2012 that I discovered one of the greatest sources of automotive media of all time. It was more than a car show. It was a perfect blend of automotive enthusiasm, comedy, information, boundary pushing, and creativity. The rapport between the hosts, Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May, was lightning in a bottle, like a rare geological event that only happens once every 1,000 years. I remember one time me and my friends went to one of their live performances where they drove cars around on an arena-style stage, told jokes, Stig was there, and they did stunts. I still have the lanyard from over 10 years ago that says BBC on it. We can talk about how brilliant old Top Gear was, but I think it would be more fun to cover the top 5 best moments the whole series had, in my opinion. And trust me, this wasn't easy. And I'm Tom, the Racing Joker, and welcome to another episode of Car Topics Explained. Well, let's see if the BBC is going to claim this, just like all of my other Top Gear videos. I won't be able to show you a whole lot of footage, because if I did, the British would be coming. In spot number 5, we've got a highlight from Season 19, Episode 2. This is the episode where Clarkson has the Lexus LFA, May has an Aston Martin Vanquish, and Hammond has a Dodge Viper. The road trip itself is awesome, but the moment where they take the 3 supercars to a drag strip is the most memorable for me. Mainly because each car gets royally thwomped by pretty much everything, including a built Mitsubishi Evo. And even though they may have a point that a lot of the cars there probably aren't very reliable, and that cars like the Evo would have gone bang, clatter, 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 and that would be the end of that. It's still funny to see because the trio are mostly and famously against modified cars.
The very noisy modified cars, which we all hate.
It was fun to see as a kid because back then I was much more into modified tuner cars at the time and hadn't really warmed up to the idea of supercars yet. For number 4, let's go even further back in time to Season 7, Episode 3. The episode where they drive 3 supercars across France to the then new Millau Bridge. I think that's how you say it. And don't get me wrong, the Pagani Zonda that Richard Hammond drove is spectacular. The Ford GT Clarkson drove is charming and bold. And the Ferrari F430 May drove was an unsurprisingly brilliant machine. But the highlight comes at the end of the episode when Clarkson gives us a beautiful monologue of what the point of a supercar, or really any fun car, truly is.
You can't rationalise cars like these. They're not something you buy with your head, you buy them with your heart because you love them.
A true enthusiast doesn't care about fuel efficiency, reliability, or practicality. A driver doesn't merely think about just the 0 to 60 or how destructive it can be on a dyno. All a petrol head or a gearhead needs is a great driving theater, an epic soundtrack, and a good road to use as a canvas to lay down some rubber. The moment you start looking at a car as an investment or feel the need to justify your choice to other people, or worse still, yourself, you've missed the point of motoring. Just remember 2 things. Nothing else matters if the car truly insulates you from the rest of the world, and that you love it so much you look back at it every single time you walk away from it. In the number 3 spot, we've got Series 19's Africa Special. The quest to find the source of the River Nile. In this episode, the trio take a bug-eyed WRX Estate, Volvo 850R, and a BMW 528i touring across the beautiful continent of Africa. We all love the Top Gear specials, but this one especially has a place in my heart. I love and miss Africa. It's a brilliantly special and beautiful part of the world with incredible things and people. So seeing the team thrash about across the picturesque landscape is a real treat. And the moment James May finds the source of the Nile is truly iconic, especially since the back of his wheel began to come off and he still beat his comrades to the finish line anyways. Whether they actually found the true source, which I think is kind of difficult to define, is up for debate. But it was an epic journey and it had a great conclusion. I also really like the idea of decking out the back of an estate car with a bed and some basic amenities and going camping with it. I mean, I'm all about chrysalism, and so being in my own cocoon while I'm out in the wild sounds really fun. For number 2, I think we've got a bit of genuine automotive history here. Don't get me wrong, the first car challenge is extremely entertaining. Hammond's driving of the Lamborghini Murcielago SV is glorious. But I think I speak for most of us when I say it is in this episode when Hammond races an SLR 722 that we first hear the term hypercar.
But with the more rarefied and expensive hypercars.
That is hypercar royalty right there. Alongside hypercar royalty.
Now he says it like he heard it from somewhere else. It doesn't seem to me that he actually coined the term, but I have no idea what the true origin of the word is. However, we cannot deny the significance of this moment, because the word hypercar has got to be one of the terms I hear most nowadays. A term used to describe cars that go above and beyond the normal run-of-the-mill supercar. We're talking about cars that cost millions, cars with thousands of horsepower, cars that are made of adamantium and have things like crushed up diamonds in the paint. This episode added this essential term to our vocabularies, and I just had to pay tribute to it because I genuinely think it is a historical moment. In the number 1 spot, and I know a lot of you are going to debate with me on this, we've got the Burma Special, specifically the finale. It's a fantastic way to pay homage to a dark part of history, an entertaining way to showcase the beauty of some of the more secluded parts of the world, and a nice departure from the usual supercars and cheap car challenges by making the trio drive some really rickety trucks. Personally, my leg is already aching from the thought of having to double clutch or float gears for 15 hours straight, which is illegal in most civilized countries. But the penultimate finale, the success of driving the trucks across their bridge, uncharacteristically with no screw-ups, sabotages, injuries, or anything like that, they just succeed and it feels genuinely well earned, at least from a viewer standpoint. Obviously for them it was a bit more arduous, but I love it. I love Top Gear and I love rewatching it from time to time. I hope one day someone brave enough and worthy enough can take the baton and make their own automotive show that can hold a candle to the trio. It's been so long since their last series. The Grand Tour is awesome, but even that won't last forever. So who's next? Some honorable mentions though, the Camper Van Challenge, the Toyota Hilux, the Amphibious Cars Challenge, the time some hicks attacked the boys because they didn't like the graffiti on their cars, Jeremy Clarkson's McLaren P1 review, and the road trip across Spain in the 458 R8 and the McLaren are all, of course, sharing a special place in my heart. But, you know, in a top 5, I can't just say, you're all my favorite. But I did my best. But anyways, if you want to see more of what the trio are up to, then check out this video where I learn about James May's gin.